So the Wilds of Talandre, Throne Liberty's latest expansion, has been out for just over 2 weeks now, and I think it's a good time for us to go over this thing. I'm going to be giving you guys an honest review, including some grades, and I don't want to say rankings, but definitely grades of each little category that we're going to go over, as well as some additional context. Unfortunately, this video isn't going to be some like professionally edited video. This is going to be a little bit more just me talking to you guys with a notepad out, going over each thing. I will give you guys some visuals because I do have the game running in the background, but this isn't going to be like some professionally edited video. Unfortunately, I'm kind of struggling on time right now. So yeah, I just wanted to get this video out pretty quick for you guys. But before we dive into it, quick word from today's sponsor. If you guys are looking to lower your ping, I would highly recommend checking out Exit Lag. I know this is a paid sponsor, but this is a product or service that I've been using long before this sponsorship/partnership, and everyone knows Exit Lag is the standard in this industry. Exit Lag does exactly that. It will lower your ping. As you can see, I've got Throne Liberty running in the background, and the ping is all over the place, right? I do not have anything connected when it comes to Throne Liberty. I'm connected with Chrome. I obviously don't have any of these other games running, but I am pinging anywhere from 300, 250, really, 250 to, there it is, 259, and it spikes up to like 400 plus, pretty bad. And I'm going to show you just how significant this is, right? No cuts here. So I'm going to go back to the server select here, and I'm going to turn this on, right? I have everything set to automatic. I am currently in Korea, and I'm connected to NA East. Here it is, Eastern Americas. I'm going to turn this on. This is on. Here we go. And let's take a look at what the ping is now at. As you can see, it's on, and give it a sec to load. Bam, 174 out the gate. Can't fake this. No cuts here, right? It's legit. The Exit Lag has always been legit. Everyone knows it's always been legit. And personally, I will not play the game unless I am using Exit Lag, because the ping diff is just way too significant. As you can see, I'm not even bouncing up and down nearly as much, and obviously it's significantly lower. For me, playing on a global server when I'm in KR, or if I'm playing on a KR server from global, the difference between 178 ping and even 250, even if that 250 was stable, right? 250, 180 is just night and day. So I would definitely recommend checking this out, guys. If you are interested, click on the link below. There is a big promotion going on right now. It is Exit Lag's birthday, and you can purchase 12 months for the price of 6. Links, once again, can be found in the description below. All right, guys, so we're going to get right into this. Right above me, you see the categories that we're going to talk about, along with a ranking and with some bulleted text. The first thing we're going to talk about are the combat improvement changes. Now, this is something that AGS and NCSoft has acknowledged, and they've been continually working on. But simply put, guys, if we're going to be reviewing this objectively right now, my opinion is that it is just not good enough. It's still not there. Now, I have spoken with the team even after Talandre, I should say, and they did acknowledge that it's not where they want it to be. It's for sure, I will even admit, it's definitely better now than it used to be. It's definitely improving. So the trajectory is better, is good, but it's just not good enough yet. And they did say that they are going to continue to work on it until they get it right. And I'm inclined to believe them. I really am, simply because when it comes to the combat for Throne Liberty has been getting better since day one. It's already gone through a couple of overhauls. And yeah, without sounding like a broken record, it has been getting better, right? And pretty much everything that AGS has said in regards to making improvements to Throne, they've been really delivering that, especially post-global launch. So right now, I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt, and I thought that was a good answer, right? We acknowledge it. We're going to continue working on it and refining it until we get it right. But to give credit where credit is due, it is better. I would say it is absolutely better, starting with the inertia changes and buffer distance, which is great. The inertia changes, as you can see, my character is not really feeling heavy with his movements. And then the buffer changes here. This ability is 18 meters right here. I'm 17 meters. I'm going to cast this, and as I'm running out of range, I can still cast it. There's that buffer distance, and that used to not be the case with Throne and Liberty. They've added that as well. You know, the melee attack range, all the changes that they've added in with this expansion definitely definitely better. Still too much slipping and sliding, however, but it's better. So let me give you an example of this slipping and sliding, and it's even worse when the ping is higher. I'm going to use Guillotine Blade here, and before, when I would use it, if I would tap my ability like this, you see how my dude just actually just moves and it cancels? That is great. That's the way it should be. Before, I even made a video about this, or on this, when you would do the same thing, I would continue to cast, depending on my ping, and then my character would not execute the ability despite the bar being full, and my character would just simply slide and do this electric slide to the side. It felt horrible, felt so bad. That is completely gone, so it definitely feels better. However, oh, sorry, I missed this. Some skills also feel better connected, like the precision dash. This definitely feels more smooth, better connected, more solid. But where Throne and Liberty is still really having issues is just, well, number one, the point that I'm making with movement direction still being bad. If I'm in front of this little thing, right, and I use my directional, I'm going to go this way. I'm going to go where that arrow's pointing me. However, if my arrow is being covered by something behind my character, and that could be like a tree or this little statue in this case, it's going to take me back, right? And I think that just needs to be fixed. It feels terrible. I get that there's terrain, and I get that you should be able to, cast like a flash wave up a vertical thing, whatever. But I don't know how they're going to go about fixing it, but it needs to be fixed because it feels terrible. So many times you're running around and there's a tree that you pass and you're trying to move, and then you flash wave into the tree, or you move into the tree, meaning you go backwards, and it just feels bad. And sometimes, for whatever reason, sometimes it feels like that's happening without anything even being actually behind my character. I've had a couple of instances where I would precision dash or strategic rush forward, but it would actually take me backwards, even when there is nothing behind my character that's elevated. I don't have any footage of it, but I've also seen other people that happen to other people. Maybe you guys are experiencing it as well. That needs to be fixed. It feels so bad. It's just really bad. The other thing is, maybe I pull up a clip. I'm not really sure if I have the clip. If I do, I'll pull it up here. But just slipping and sliding. Again, like, I'm using a lot of nimble steps because I'm playing SNS Expo here. And there are so many instances of this where I'm going into a direction and then I slide in a different direction. Or let's say I'm using my SNS, right? My SNS, I use the annihilation slides, the 360 slash that will vacuum your targets if you have a Queen Bellandir SNS. This ability right here, annihilation slash. Yeah, sorry, the names have changed like 80 times. So annihilation slash here, I use this ability and my character will literally slide, and it feels terrible. I know a lot of you guys have already felt this, right? Those two things need to change. Those two things need to be better. They need to be fixed. This slipping and sliding, almost like a desyncy like feeling, or feeling like you're on an ice rink, is just awful. And they really need to fix it. And if they did fix it, I would definitely give this at least a 4 out of 5 rating or grade. Now, this isn't just so you know, I'm not rating the combat a 2.5 out of 5. I'm rating the improvement changes, right? So overall, I'm going to give it a 2.5 out of 5. When it comes to the targeting, however, way better. I think it can be a little better with the nameplate coloring. Okay, I think it can be, it is better. You can see the white now. I would like to see that in PvE as well. I'm not sure why they disabled it in PvE, but the targeting, definitely better. I do think there still is definitely room for improvement, but this is just night and day better. I'm actually targeting people using tab and getting the target that I want. I'm actually able to click on my targets now when I'm in the battlefield. I really got to give this at least a 4 out of 5. Like I said, can be better, but as far as this patch and the improvement to the targeting goes, I'm going to give it a 4 out of 5. Next, we have the new content. I'm going to give the new content a 4.5 out of 5. This expansion dropped a lot of new content. We had gear. I don't actually think I mentioned the gear here. We had new gear, essentially resetting the gear For an expansion, this was just a very, very solid amount of overall content. The solo dungeon designs, I think, were pretty good. I do think they were a little bit too long in some of the areas, like the first solo dungeon that we had, the little, going across the water, going down the little river, and the puzzles, that puzzle. I think that took way too long. It was actually kind of annoying. And the game keeps making you use these grapples, and the grapples are they're just not good. Rewards, I think, do need to be better. The percentage, it's just too low of a percentage chance to get that level of tier 2 gear, right? There are some nice tier 2 pieces, obviously the wand, the SNS, the bow, the greatsword, but if you're a spear enjoyer, your weapon of choice is not in there. Expo enjoyer, your weapon of choice is not in there. And the rewards, given that, I think that they're just a little bit too low. I think it was like a 46% chance. I think you have like a 46% chance to actually get a tier 2 weapon at tier 4. Maybe it was tier 3. I think it's a bit low. And but outside of that, I do think that the solo dungeons are a very, very good addition to the game. Nebula, in my personal opinion, I think this is just the best thing to come to Throne. You have a huge area, and there is meaningful progression in that area, and it's just fun. And it's obviously there's zerging out there, but the day-to-day, generally speaking, it's like party skirmishes. There's so many 6v6 fights that you're going to have simply because a lot of the spots are contested by 6-man parties. Now, obviously, if you go to some areas, you've got like 2 guilds working. So if you mess with this party, you're messing with an entire guild that comes at you. That's just the nature of open world. But there are so many instances of like just a 6v6 fight. It really changes the pace of grinding because, again, you're not just there to PvP. You're also there to make gains, to get your stones, to get your artifacts, to get your potential accessories. And this is just so incredibly fun. I think other games should actually take note from how NCSoft and AGS NCSoft has implemented the Nebula system. However, I think if I were to add anything to it, I do think that the peace area being a little bit larger would be good, simply because of how many people are playing in global right now. Obviously, if the game was if our population was a lot smaller, then this wouldn't be a problem. But right now out the gate, I do think the peace area is just a little small. I don't want it to be too big, but I think it's a little small for now. Or just make the mobs come up a little faster, add some density. I would also like to see maybe one additional boss spawn relative to the players in the instance, right? So this is another thing that's very unique to current global, which is our global. There's a lot of players playing right now, right? And sometimes it can be a complete clusterfuck when it comes to these boss fights. And I think spreading it out, right, especially after the server merges and the servers being clustered together, I believe it's like 3 servers per a Nebula cluster. I think having maybe just an additional boss spawn at the same time would be good. I certainly know the downsides to it, but I think it would be better for now. And maybe having it spawn additionally, depending on how many players are in that instance. I don't know if that's actually possible, but yeah, right now it's just really populated, and having that additional boss spawn, I think, would be good. This obviously wouldn't be very good later on when there's more people. Next, we have 3-star dungeons, and these 3-star dungeons are just really nerfed. A lot of you guys probably heard, holy shit, the 3-star dungeons were a lot were supposed to be a lot more difficult. Now you're doing them, they feel pretty easy, and they are. There's like essentially no one-shot mechanics unless you're doing it at eye level. And I think for daily content, this is okay. I really do. Like imagine if 1-star, 2-star dungeons were still very, very difficult for you to do. It would take you forever, right? Sometimes you get those dungeon entries stacked and you just want to finish it quick. So I think this is okay. I think it's totally fine for it to be easy, especially because the challenging content being tied to dimensional trials is good enough, in my opinion. If you want a challenge, you could do the trials and you're still knocking out your dungeon dailies by doing the trials, and you're also getting your runes as well, right? So there is still vertical progression tied to it. As far as the new content goes, overall, I'm not going to complain. I think this was probably one of the best parts about, probably the best part of the expansion, just the amount of sheer content that we got. All right, so next let's talk about the gearing and progression systems that have been added or adjusted to Throne and Liberty in Talandre. I'm going to give this a 3 out of 5. Personally, I am a fan of the milestone system. I think this is a very good system to adopt, when it comes to expansion drops or even releases. It just staggers content. At the end of the day, I just never thought that having a game where you literally have every content accessible to you day one was a good thing. This just gives you something to look forward to on a week-to-week basis, and I think it's a very good system. Big one for me here, though, is I'm not really 100% sure what the plan is to do with some of the gear sets and items. This is a big talking point amongst the community, as it should be, and I think the biggest concern here, guys, is that we now have pretty much everything. As you can see from the time of this recording, we only have one milestone left with Crimson, right? And I'm pretty sure Crimson's like the big juice from Crimson is going to be the last two pieces of the Vanguard set. That's just a guess. I don't know. That's just my assumption, though. And if that's the case, there's still a lot of other pieces of gear that are just locked behind world bosses. And I'm not really sure if that's really a good thing for the game right now, mainly because we don't have another set of dungeons that we are looking forward to as we did in tier 1. In tier 1, we had an equal amount of difficulty getting some of these prestigious set items. For example, Shock Commander was insanely expensive when they first came out for a while, but the difference was that 2-star dungeons eventually came out relatively shortly after, and that pretty much solved that issue for a lot of players. For tier 2 in Talandre, we don't have that. We have everything but Crimson, and obviously Crimson isn't going to drop everything. We're probably not going to see a full Imperial set dropping from Crimson, right? And I think that's where the biggest concern is with some of these players, and it can be frustrating. It could be frustrating for sure right here, since some classes are able to build out while others are stuck waiting. And if the people that are waiting, let's say you're an Imperial user and you're waiting for your Imperial set, and let's just say that you know that your Imperial set is going to only come from the world bosses, now you know that it is going to be a lot more difficult for you to actually get your full set versus some of these other players. They're in their full sets already because for whatever reason, a lot of their pieces were the dungeon gear pieces, right? So, I mean, everyone here by now should know that there are definitely meta sets and meta items, but it isn't really like an Imperial set. It's just way better than, a Vanguard set. Does that make sense? So it can be very frustrating for a lot of these players, and I understand that frustration. And I also understand the argument of, hey, take your time. Tier 1, sorry about that. Tier 1 also took a while for us to get that gear cheap and make it become more accessible. But like I said, the concern here with Tier 2 right now is that we have everything. I have no idea how Burkant weapons are going to even come out. A lot of people are waiting for the Burkant daggers, for the Expo. People are asking me, when is it coming out? How's it coming out? And I genuinely don't know. I have no idea. All of that was tied to dungeons in tier 2 in Korea, or is, and it's not the case here. So maybe it's something that they just want to release later. I don't know. There you go. I mean, I'm saying that a lot, but that's the genuine truth. I don't know. And because of that uncertainty, I'm kind of bringing this down because it is right now frustrating, and it isn't we're kind of getting to that point where the solution or the answer or the response to this is no longer, oh, just wait for all the milestones. It's like we kind of have all the milestones now. So how is this going to get introduced? If Imperial set is strictly locked behind a world boss, that's going to be very frustrating for a lot of players. And the reality is a lot of players will probably quit because of that. I do not want gearing to be easy. I don't. You can make gearing difficult, but people have to see the light at the end of the tunnel. There are a lot of players that are not able to get gear pieces that are tied behind world bosses because of their guild situation. This is a reality. Before you go condemning this type of mindset, just know that that is a reality for a lot of people out there. I think it's way better to allow everyone to craft at least the armor sets to craft it on their own accord via adventure coins. And like I said, it can be tough. You can make the adventure coin grind quite high, right? But at least if you do it this way, they can see the light at the end of the tunnel. They know, okay, all the armor pieces, pretty much, you can get them either in the open world dungeon farm, which is really not bad, or you can craft them by doing dungeons. You know, I just think that's a lot better. Weapons, though, like let's say Daigon's staff, these things, you want to tie them behind a world boss, that's totally fine. I think at the very least, the armor sets need to be craftable and or obtainable in the open world dungeon. And at least the dungeon weapons, like the Burkant weapons, I mean, Quake's, the Purgatory SNS, Bulwark SNS, the Quake SNS, or the Quake sword, these are best in slot pieces for those respective classes. But then other people that are, you know, Expo Andes that are waiting for their Burkant Expos, they are not able to get their best in slot equivalent, right? Because of the situation, spears, because of this current situation. So I think there needs to be adjustment there, and that's the main reason why I'm knocking a couple of points off. The new mastery and artifact systems, I think, is the biggest W in regards to the gearing and progression aspect of Talandre. Huge W, really opens up a lot of build variety and way more depth to the builds. I love it. I genuinely love it. Huge W, 3 out of 5 for the gearing and progression. All right, so next we have the new player experience. I'm giving the new player experience a 2.5 out of 5, which might be surprising to some people, especially because this new player experience, if you were a returning player that understood the game, if you're a new player that had someone to hold your hand, or if you're a veteran just kind of thinking, what would it be like for a new player? You would think that this would be a lot higher because there is a huge incentive to start right now. There's a reset with tier 2 gear, and they gave out tier 2 fully traded rare gear. This is, I mean, like, think about this. This is just fantastic for new players, right? The issue, though, is if you are a brand new player, especially if you're a new player playing solo with no help, it is very overwhelming. And I've been paying attention to the feedback that I've been getting from my chat, where we had a lot of new players coming in, returning players. I've been getting a lot of feedback from other streamers that wanted to play the game, that were interested in it. And it was just very overwhelming for them, right? And this is something that a lot of veteran players are ignorant to because we obviously understand the game. Trading to us is a very simple system. However, to regular players that are brand new to the game, the trading and feeding system is not easy to understand. And if you've ever tried explaining the trading system, right, like the 10%, the 1%, the blessing, stacking, and all that stuff, you will quickly realize that your explanation becomes longer and longer and longer and longer and longer, right? There's a lot to put out. It's not the simplest system. Runes also, I mean, think about how easy runes are. It's such a simple system. But do you remember when you were first learning the runes, it was kind of confusing to understand at first. It's like, well, how do you level them up again? Like, how does that work? Do I have to do this? Do I have to do that? You required an explanation. It's not the simplest system when you're trying to learn it for the first time. The mastery system, as big of a W as I think the new mastery system is, it is also kind of overwhelming at first sight. An extreme example of this would be obviously the Infinity Tree or Infinity Board or whatever they would call it, the skill build board in Path of Exile, which obviously Throne Liberty is not even anywhere close to, but that would be an extreme example of how these types of systems can be and are a little bit overwhelming to new players. New players essentially must have someone guiding them in order to play right now. Period. If systems weren't overwhelming for new players, then this campaign, especially with the gear codes, guys, 100% a 5 out of 5. Hard 5 out of 5. I think this was something that was a little bit more exposed with this expansion. We had a lot of new players come in, give their feedback, and I hope AGS can really help push for changes for the next big new player campaign, whether that's a Hyper Boost expansion or Hyper Boost server or a brand new expansion, whatever that may be. I hope there are additional systems in place that will help you understand. What I noticed as I'm going back playing through the campaign again is that a lot of the systems are actually explained via the dialogue if you're paying attention to the story/dialogue. And the reality is very few people do. Pretty much no one does. No one pays attention to that stuff. And there are also tutorials that pop up when you open the screen for the first time, like traits and whatnot. But they're just going to have to do a better job at making it less overwhelming and easier to understand for new players. I don't know what the solution to that is, but if you are in a situation where there are a lot of new players that are overwhelmed by the current system, it just means that the systems should be improved. It needs to be better. It's as simple as that. Now, the last thing that's on this list is not really relevant to a lot of the player base. This is more specifically for content creators and streamers, but the streamer campaign they had, the Twitch Drops campaign that they had for Talandre, was just a hard 5 out of 5. I want to give a major shout outs to AGS and whoever was in charge of putting this together, whoever's idea this was to put this campaign together for your content creators. I just want you guys to know that this was a huge W, not only from me, but from every streamer in the content in the category. Excuse me. Everyone loved it. All the feedback was the feedback was just essentially other creators outside of the throne category were jealous of this campaign, and the people within the category are more incentivized to continue to do content, more incentivized to continue streaming Throne, and are just very appreciative of having these types of campaigns. Because at the end of the day, this is a huge support that AGS has given to their streamer and Twitch community. That's what it is. I know a lot of people don't like this whole gifted sub campaign, but when it comes to streamers, this right here is... It's a massive difference. It's a much bigger impact than you would imagine. There are a lot of people that work very hard on their content that don't get paid much. They're essentially working for free. They're trying to make a name for themselves, or they're trying to put food on the table, whatever that may be, right? And they're passionate about the game. They're putting out content. I can assure you, YouTube ad revenue is really not that much money. It's really not as much money as a lot of people think it is, okay? It's only like crazy money if you're like pushing millions. But the reality is, you know, that 10K, 5K, 20K, 30K, even 50K video that you see on YouTube, it's really not actually generating that much money. So having a campaign like this to support your streamers really goes a long ways. And I know for a fact that all the streamers in the category were very, very appreciative of this, and it was a huge impact. On top of that, having a 2-week drop campaign that gave very good rewards, and then on top of that, giving codes to the community that would give you full tier 2 fully traded tier 2 +9 gear, rare gear, and also giving a lot of those codes to the streamers to help support their streams. This really was just a dream for the creators. And the last thing to round this out, I will also say that I personally think they had a great selection of streamers, non-endemic streamers they selected to sponsor to further push Throne to other communities, right? Zaryu, Savix, all these guys I thought were excellent choices to sponsor when it came to the non-endemic streamers. And overall, man, I just really think that this streamer campaign / drops campaign was a home run. Anyways, that's gonna pretty much do it for this video, guys. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. I do have a feedback video that I do plan on posting relatively soon, so definitely keep an eye out for that. I think I might put out an SNS Expo video too. We'll see. But yeah, let me know what you guys think in the comment section below, what kind of content you guys want to see. And don't forget to like and subscribe. Follow me on Twitch. I'm streaming a lot of Thrones still on Twitch. And I will see you guys in the next video.